Stay quiet and don't move, Waitress saved the Mafia boss when she read the danger in the room. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's go back to our main character. I'd been working double shifts at Rosetta's for 3 weeks straight, the kind of exhaustion that settles behind your eyes and makes the world blur at the edges. But that night, something felt different the second I stepped onto the floor. The air had a pulse. Conversations were quieter, edges sharper, like everyone sensed a storm but didn't know where it was hiding. I balanced my tray, forced a smile, and moved through the warm glow of the dining room lights, pretending everything was normal. It wasn't. Not when the door opened and he walked in. Dante Moretti. I didn't know his name yet, but every cell in my body reacted like it did. Tall, dark suit, movement sharp and fluid, like violence wrapped in elegance. The room shifted around him. People straightened. Others lowered their eyes. Only men like him could make a place bow without a word. I tried not to stare. I failed. Not because he was handsome, though he was, in a way that made my heartbeat skip like it forgot the choreography, but because of the energy that followed him. Heavy. Quiet. Dangerous. I kept serving tables, avoiding his gaze, counting tips in my head to stay calm. Rent was due in 5 days. My world was small, predictable, sometimes painful, but safe enough. His world was clearly not. Maybe that's why I noticed the wrongness before anyone else did. Maybe you learn to sense danger when you've spent years surviving on instinct more than comfort. I was delivering a bottle of wine to a corner table when I saw it, just a flicker in the mirror behind the bar. A man at Dante's 10 o'clock shifting his weight. Another adjusting his sleeve the way someone might before drawing something hidden. And the eyes. God, the eyes. Not looking at Dante. Looking past him. Over him. Waiting. Hunters always look past the target before they strike. My tray trembled in my hand. No one else noticed. The soft piano music kept playing. Couples laughed. Forks clinked. And Doom moved closer like a shadow no one could see. Something cold slid down my spine. I set the wine down before I dropped it. My legs moved before my brain agreed. I walked straight toward Dante's table, my pulse punching against my ribs. He didn't look at me until I was right beside him, pretending to adjust his silverware like any other waitress doing her job. Up close, he was worse. Or better. Or both. His presence felt like stepping too close to a fire, warm, bright, but capable of burning you down to ash. His eyes met mine, dark and patient, waiting for me to speak. I didn't. I leaned down, close enough to smell expensive cologne and cold danger, close enough that my breath almost touched his ear. Stay quiet, I whispered. And don't move. For half a second, he didn't react. Then his gaze sharpened, not at me, but at the fear flickering behind my eyes. He saw it. He believed it. He didn't question it. The first gun shifted behind him. I did the only thing I could without dying first. I accidentally knocked my tray forward, sending 2 glasses crashing to the floor in an explosion of sound and glittering shards. The shot that should have hit him never found its target. Screams erupted. Chairs scraped. But Dante didn't flinch. He turned his head, eyes locked on mine, voice low enough only I could hear. Who are you? I didn't get to answer. His men moved instantly, shadows turning into shields. The attackers reacted too slow. That was their last mistake. And in the chaos, Dante rose, placing himself between me and everything dangerous in the room, as if saving my life was repayment he'd already decided he owed. His hand brushed my arm lightly, command hidden in softness. "You're coming with me," he said. I should have said no. I should have run. But when the man you just saved looks at you like you're the only person in the room worth hearing, worth protecting, worth knowing, you don't run. Not yet. Not tonight. And that was the moment my quiet life ended, and his world claimed me before I understood the cost. Chaos was still echoing across the restaurant when Dante's hand closed around my wrist, firm but not painful, steady in a way that made everything inside me go strangely quiet. Move, he said, and I did. Not because he commanded it, but because the alternative was staying in a room where bullets had already started flying. His men formed a wall around us, ushering us through the side corridor that staff usually used for cigarette breaks and crying on particularly bad shifts. Tonight, it was an escape route. The door slammed behind us, blocking out the screams, the broken glass, the truth that I had almost watched a man die. The night air hit me like a slap, cold and damp, smelling of rain and city smoke. My breath came too fast, my hands shaking so hard I had to hold them against my stomach to hide it. Dante looked at me for a long moment, as if memorizing my face, my fear, the fact that I was still standing. Someone tried to kill you, I whispered before I could stop myself. Someone always tries to kill me, he replied, too calm, too steady. But then his eyes softened just enough to feel like a secret. People do not usually warn me. You are the first. He started walking toward a line of black cars already idling by the curb, headlights cutting through the fog. His men moved with the same sharp precision, scanning shadows, murmuring into earpieces. I froze on the sidewalk. I cannot go with you, I said. I have a shift. I have a life. He turned back like he could not believe I had said that. Your life, he said slowly, just became something very different. Because I saved you. Because you were seen saving me, he corrected. Because men who saw you interrupt their job do not leave witnesses breathing. My stomach dropped. The cold air was not enough to calm the heat of panic rising in my chest. He stepped closer, and for the first time, he did not feel like a storm. He felt like shelter. Lena, he said, my name sounding almost gentle on his tongue, if you go home tonight, you will not see the morning. One of his men opened the car door, waiting. Dante did not force me. He just held my gaze like he was offering a truth. I was not ready to understand. And I hated how much I believed him. My legs moved before my pride could protest. I slid into the back seat. The door shut with a heavy thud that sounded too much like fate. The car pulled away from the curb, city lights smearing across the tinted windows as adrenaline began to fade, leaving a hollow ache behind. I stared at my hands, still trembling. You keep shaking like that, you will pass out, Dante said from across the seat. I am not shaking, I lied instantly. He gave me a look that said he was used to being lied to but not by people who were terrible at it. Your hands say otherwise. He reached toward me, slow enough for me to pull away if I wanted to. I did not. His fingers brushed mine, grounding me, pulling my breath back into my lungs. Warm. Controlled. Protective. Why did you notice them? He asked. I swallowed. Because danger looks the same everywhere. The eyes. The tension. The way people shift right before they do something terrible. I grew up reading rooms more than textbooks. He seemed to consider that. You saw what even my trained men missed. I just got lucky. No, he said quietly, you are something else. Before I could ask what that meant, the city thinned, giving way to quiet streets lined with old brick houses and iron fences. I had lived in this city my whole life, and I had never seen this part. Too clean. Too guarded. Too expensive for anyone who knew the price of overtime shifts. The gates appeared out of the fog first, towering iron, flanked by cameras and stone pillars. They opened before the car even slowed, as if they knew exactly who was arriving. Where are we? I asked. Home, Dante said. Yours? Now, he corrected softly, ours. My heart flipped painfully. I am not staying here. You are, he said, because it is the only place in the city where no one can touch you. The car rolled forward, down a long driveway lined with lights and tall oaks whispering in the wind. Every instinct in me screamed to run, but something else, something quieter, held me still. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe shock. Maybe the way Dante kept watching me like I was the most important thing to walk into his life in. A very long time. The car stopped. The mansion loomed like a shadow carved into the night, sprawling and silent. Too big. Too dark. Too controlled. Lena, Dante said as his door opened, come with me. I hesitated only a moment. Because deep down, even through the fear, I knew the truth, he was not just bringing me into his world. He was pulling me into his war. And somehow, without meaning to, I had already chosen a side. The moment my heels touched the marble floor of Dante Moretti's mansion, I realized I had stepped somewhere people like me were never supposed to walk. The air was too quiet, too still, the kind of silence that felt watched. Two men in black suits stood near the staircase, eyes tracking every movement I made, but not in the way creeps on the subway stare. This was calculated, clinical, protective only because Dante had decided I was someone worth protecting. I was not sure how to feel about that. Confused. Terrified. Weirdly safe. All at the same time. Dante walked ahead a few steps before he turned back, noticing I had stopped in the middle of the foyer like someone who had wandered into a parallel universe. Keep close, he said, softer than I expected. You do not have to be afraid. That was easy for him to say. Men like him were born in houses with gates and guards and names that bent the city around their will. I was born in a neighborhood where you learn to run fast, speak softly, and mind your business. And tonight, I had done the exact opposite. My voice barely worked. I should not be here, Dante. You should be alive, he countered, closing the distance between us. This is where you stay alive. He did not touch me, but the intent hung in the air between us, warm enough to make my chest tighten. Before I could respond, a woman appeared from a hallway on the left. Mid-50s maybe, dark hair pulled into a neat bun, expression warm but sharp like she could read a person in 2 seconds flat. She approached Dante first. You brought someone, she said, her Italian accent gentle but unmistakable. Her eyes slid to me, taking everything in. Not judging. Just knowing. This is Lena, Dante said. She will stay in the East guest wing for now. Set everything up. Her eyebrows lifted by the smallest fraction, the closest thing to surprise she allowed herself. Understood. Then she turned to me. My name is Gianna. If you need anything, you ask. Clothes, food, a moment to breathe. I managed a quiet thank you, and she offered a small nod before disappearing again as silently as she had arrived. Dante gestured for me to follow him up the staircase. Every step felt heavier than the last, like I was climbing deeper into something I could not escape. Halfway up, I asked, what happens now? He did not answer right away. Instead, he stopped on the landing, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense in a way I had not noticed before. Someone ordered the hit tonight, he said. Someone with resources, someone who knew exactly where I would be and when. A chill crawled up my spine. You think it was the same people who saw me warn you? They saw everything, he said. Which means you are now a liability to them, but an asset to me. Asset, I repeated, the word tasting heavier than it should. That is not what I meant, Dante said quietly, stepping closer. You did not save my life to gain anything. You acted on instinct. That is rare. That is, his voice dropped. It is not something I ignore. The intensity of his gaze forced me to look away. If I kept staring into those dark eyes, I was afraid I might forget everything except the way he was looking at me. We reached a long hallway lit by soft wall lamps. Dante stopped at a polished wooden door and pushed it open. Inside, the room looked like something out of a luxury magazine. A king-sized bed, pale curtains, a window overlooking the dark gardens. Too beautiful. Too quiet. Too safe. In a way that made me more nervous, not less. Stay here tonight, he said. No one will enter this wing without my permission. My pulse kicked. You are acting like someone wants to break in here just to find me. His expression did not change. I am not acting, Lena. He stepped back toward the doorway, but paused, one hand on the frame as if he were holding himself there. Tonight, you walk into my world, he said slowly. Tomorrow, you understand why you cannot walk back out. The door closed behind him with a soft click that echoed deeper than any slam door I had ever heard. Alone in the silence, I pressed a hand to my racing heart and whispered into the dark, what have I gotten myself into? And the worst part was the answer that pulsed in my chest even before I wanted to admit it. Something I could not outrun. Something that felt like destiny dressed in danger. Sleep did not come, not even for a second. I sat on the edge of the enormous bed with my knees pulled to my chest, listening to a house so quiet it felt alive. Every distant footstep, every shift in the walls, every click of settling would made my pulse jump. I knew this was the safest place I could possibly be, but safety did not feel like safety when it came wrapped in marble floors and guarded hallways. It felt like a cage pretending to be a sanctuary. Sometime after 3 in the morning, I finally moved. Not to sleep, but because the silence became too heavy to bear. I walked toward the window and looked out over the gardens. The moonlight rested on the oaks, the high fences, the long driveway where the world ended at metal gates and men with guns. Dante had said I could not walk back out. I had not believed him then. Now I did. A soft knock startled me so badly I almost dropped the glass of water I was holding. Before I could answer, the door opened just an inch, enough for a familiar voice to slip through. Lena. May I come in? Dante. I should have said no. It was too late, too dark, too intimate for someone like him to be standing outside my door. But the word that came out was a quiet, breathless yes. He stepped inside without fully entering, staying near the door as if he were giving me space to run if I wanted to. I did not. His white dress shirt was unbuttoned at the top, sleeves rolled up, a faint shadow along his jaw. He looked like he had not slept either. I wanted to check on you, he said. Gianna said you have not asked for anything. I did not want to bother anyone. You saved my life, he replied, voice low and even. You do not bother anyone. Here. I did not know what to say to that. I watched him as he walked further into the room, stopping near the window where I had stood moments ago. The moonlight caught the sharp lines of his profile, and for the first time, he looked almost human instead of carved from stone and control. The men who attacked tonight, he said, were not random. They were sent. Fear crawled across my skin again. Then they will come back. They will try, he admitted, but they will fail. Not while you are here. I crossed my arms, trying to keep my voice steady. Why would they come after me? I did not do anything except try to help. Exactly, he said. You saw something you were never meant to see. That makes you a threat to them. The word threat made my stomach twist. I am a waitress, Dante. A nobody. Do not ever call yourself that again. His voice was a command wrapped in something strangely protective. You have eyes sharper than men I pay fortunes to train. You noticed danger in a room full of people who could not see past their wine glasses. You acted without hesitation. That is not nothing. I shook my head, unable to accept praise that felt too heavy for my shoulders. I was scared. Fear does not cancel courage, he said. His gaze lingered on me for a long, unreadable moment. It proves it. I could not breathe for a second. Not because of the danger in the world, but because of the way he looked at me like I had surprised him, impressed him, unsettled him in a way he was not used to feeling. There is something else, he added. That pulled me back. What? Someone accessed the restaurant security footage before my men got there. Someone took the files. My blood froze. So they know my face. Yes, he said softly. Which is why you cannot leave this house, not yet. I turned away, hands shaking again. I had a life. A tiny, simple, boring life, but it was mine. And now it is gone. Not gone, Dante said, stepping closer. Paused. Paused feels like disappearing, I whispered. He stood beside me, close enough that I could feel his warmth even without touching him. I will not let you disappear. I made the mistake of looking up at him. His eyes were dark, steady, intense in a way that made my heart beat too fast. You have my word, he said. There was a knock at the door, sharper this time. One of his guards. Boss. We found something. Dante's expression shifted instantly, the softness evaporating, replaced by the cold precision I had seen at the restaurant. Stay here, he said, but I reached out and touched his sleeve without thinking. Dante, is it about me? He met my eyes. Everything is about you now. Then he was gone, the door closing behind him, leaving me alone with a truth I was not ready to face. I was no longer a bystander in his world. I was the spark that had just lit someone's war. The moment Dante left the room, the air shifted again, heavier than before, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. I stood in the middle of the guest room, staring at the closed door, wondering what his guard had found and what it meant for me. A part of me wanted to run after him, demand answers, refuse to be left in the dark, but the smarter part, the one that had learned to survive in small apartments and unpredictable neighborhoods, told me to wait. I paced instead, slow steps across marble that seemed too spotless for someone like me. My reflection in the tall mirror by the dresser startled me. I looked like myself but not myself. My hair was messy, my eyes wide, my clothes still faintly smelling of spilled wine and broken glass. I looked like a girl out of place in a world built on secrets and inherited power. And maybe I was. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. My nerves stretched thin enough to snap. When I could not take the silence any longer, I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The guard posted at the end looked straight at me. Not rude, not harsh, just alert. Miss Lena, he said with a respectful nod. The boss asked that you remain inside. Did he tell you why? He hesitated, which meant he was deciding how much he was allowed to say. Only that the footage from the restaurant was accessed by someone we did not expect. A cold shiver cut through me. The people who attacked him. Not them, the guard replied. Someone smarter. Someone with deeper reach. That did not help my fear. It made it worse. I retreated back into the room because I suddenly felt safer behind a door Dante had told me to stay behind. Another 20 minutes crawled by before I heard footsteps, familiar ones. Heavy, controlled, confident. The door opened without knocking. Dante stepped inside and closed it behind him, leaning on the door for a moment as if the weight of whatever he had learned was still settling on his shoulders. His jaw was tight. His eyes were darker than I had ever seen them. Something had changed. Dante, I said, voice small. What did you find? He did not speak for several seconds. He studied me first, his gaze sweeping over me like he was checking for injuries that had nothing to do with the body and everything to do with the mind. Then he moved closer. The footage was taken, he said quietly, by someone on the inside. My heart dropped. Inside the restaurant. Inside my world. He ran a hand through his hair, the movement sharp and angry. Someone on my payroll, someone with clearance, someone who knew exactly what to look for. I swallowed. They know who I am now. Yes, he said. They know you warned me. They saw your face clearly. They have already circulated your image to people who would use you to get to me. My knees nearly buckled. Why? Because you embarrassed them, Dante said, stepping closer. Because you saw a move they spent weeks planning. Because you ruined what they believed would be the perfect kill. And because they know I do not take betrayal lightly. I exhaled shakily. So what does that mean for me? Dante reached out, slowly, giving me time to pull away if I wanted to. I did not move. His fingers brushed my elbow gently before settling at my forearm, grounding me again. It means you stay here under my protection, he said. It means no one touches you. No one gets near you. No one speaks your name unless I allow it. My breath caught. In fear. And in something else I did not want to name. Dante, this is too much. I do not belong in your world. I am just a waitress. Stop saying that, he said sharply but not unkindly. You are the only person in that room who saw the danger coming. You are the only person who acted. You are the only person who changed the outcome. He paused, eyes locked with mine. And you are the only person who made me feel something real in a very long time. My heart stuttered. His voice dropped lower, softer, dangerous in a way that had nothing to do with violence. They think they can use you against me, he said. They think you are a weakness. His thumb brushed the inside of my wrist. They are wrong. You are the reason I am alive tonight. I did not know what to say, so I whispered the only truth I had. I did not save you for anything. I just acted. And that, Dante replied, his gaze fierce, is exactly why I will not let anything happen to you. Before I could respond, another guard knocked, urgent this time. Boss, we have movement at the outer gate. Dante's expression shifted instantly, transforming back into the cold, lethal version of himself. Stay in this room, he told me. Do not open the door for anyone but me. Then he stepped out into the hallway, leaving me in a room that suddenly felt too big, too quiet, and too connected to a world where danger had slipped past gates before. And as the house filled with distant voices and the tension of approaching threat, one truth echoed louder than all of it. I had not just stepped into Dante Moretti's world. I had become the reason his enemies were coming. The second Dante disappeared down the hallway, the world outside my door shifted again, the kind of shift that made the hair on my arms stand up. I heard movement downstairs, low voices layered with tension, boots on marble, doors opening and closing with urgency. Something was happening at the gates, something close enough to pull every guard into motion. I stood in the center of the room, trying to breathe through the rising panic. The house was too quiet and too loud at the same time, silence pressed against the windows while footsteps echoed like warnings. I wanted to do what Dante said and stay put, but fear does strange things, and standing still was suddenly the hardest thing I had ever done. I moved toward the door and pressed my ear against it, listening. Nothing for a moment. Then a voice crackled faintly through a radio somewhere down the hall. 2 vehicles. No plates. Approaching slow. Another voice responded. Hold positions. Boss is on his way. My pulse hammered. I stepped back from the door, gripping my arms to steady myself. Whoever was outside had come fast, too fast for this to be coincidence. It had to be connected to the footage, to me, to the moment I whispered 5 words into Dante's ear and changed everything. The room suddenly felt colder. I walked toward the window and peeked through a crack in the curtains. The driveway was long and dark, lit by only a few ground lights, but I could see silhouettes at the far end. Tall. Armed. Waiting. Before the fear suffocated me, a soft knock broke through the silence. I jumped so hard I nearly stumbled backward. My voice cracked. Who is it? A familiar, warm tone answered. Lena, it is Joanna. May I come in? Relief washed through me so fast my knees weakened. I opened the door, and she slipped inside with the grace of someone who had lived a lifetime in houses like this. She held a tray with tea, a blanket draped over her arm. You looked pale earlier, she said, setting the tray on the small table. I thought you might need something warm. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because kindness felt strange in a night like this. Joanna, I whispered, what is happening? She hesitated before answering, choosing her words like someone who knew the weight each one carried. The outer gate sensors triggered. That does not happen without reason. Men like Dante learn early that trouble does not knock politely. My stomach twisted. Is it because of me? She looked at me, long and steady. It is because someone wants to hurt him. You simply made yourself visible in the wrong moment. That did not make me feel better. What happens if they get inside? Gianna stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. They will not. This house is a fortress. And Dante. Dante is not a man who loses battles at his own front door. As if on cue, a distant shout carried through the walls. Then, a second later, silence. Heavy, waiting silence. Gianna looked toward the hallway, tense. He will come to you when it is safe. Until then, you must stay here. No exceptions. Before I could reply, another voice echoed from downstairs, deep and commanding. Dante. I could not make out the words, but the tone alone sent a strange calm through me. He was in control. Even in danger, he was unshakable. Almost. A louder crash followed, like metal hitting stone. Gianna's eyes snapped toward the hallway. That is too close, she murmured. She walked to the door, cracked it open, and saw something that made her inhale sharply. She shut the door immediately and locked it. What? I whispered, panic clawing up my throat. What did you see? She shook her head. Not now. Sit down. I did not move. Gianna. Tell me. Her expression softened, filled with something like pity. A man got past the first line of guards. Not to this floor, but closer than anyone should. My blood froze. Dante is handling it, she said firmly. And he will win. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe Dante was invincible, unshakable, impossible to reach. But when the hallway erupted in gunfire, one sharp, echoing burst, I felt the truth settle cold in my bones. Someone had brought the fight to Dante's home. And they were willing to break through every wall just to reach him. Or me. Then, footsteps. Hard. Fast. Coming straight toward the room. Gianna grabbed my wrist and pulled me behind her. The door handle turned. My breath stopped. Then Dante's voice cut through the dark like a blade. Lena. Open the door. Now. I could breathe again. But when I unlocked the door and saw him standing there, breathing hard, shirt stained with someone else's fight, I understood something with painful clarity. The war outside had not ended. It had only just arrived. The moment Dante stepped through the doorway, I felt the air in the room snap tight, like every molecule recognized the danger clinging to him. His shirt was smeared with dust and a streak of blood that was not his jaw clenched hard enough to crack stone, and his eyes, usually controlled and unreadable, were burning with something close to fury. Not at me. At whoever dared breach his home. Gianna moved first. Are you hurt? Dante shook his head once. Not my blood. Then his gaze landed on me, and everything else in the room blurred. He crossed the distance in 3 strides, his hands gripping my arms, not roughly, but firmly. Enough to anchor me in place. Are you hurt? He asked, voice low, urgent, almost frantic beneath the calm he tried to force. I shook my head. I am all right. His exhale was sharp, like he had been holding it since the moment he left me. He glanced at Gianna. Stay with her. No one enters this room unless I say so. Gianna nodded without hesitation. Dante's hand slid from my arm to my wrist, fingers brushing the skin lightly, checking, reassuring himself I was real and unhurt. Then he straightened, pulling his presence back under control like a weapon being reholstered. One man got through the perimeter, he said. He will not get up again. My stomach tightened. Dante, they came here. To your home. Yes, he replied calmly. Which means they are desperate. Desperate men make mistakes. He stepped toward the door. I felt the panic spike inside me. Do not leave, I said before I could stop myself. He paused, hand on the doorknob, as if the words had physically stopped him. Slowly, he turned back, eyes locked on mine. I have to finish securing the grounds, he said softly. I will come back. The promise landed heavy. But the fear in my chest did not ease. Do not get yourself killed. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. I do not plan on it. Then he left. And the door closed. This time, the silence afterward felt brutal. Joanna guided me to sit on the edge of the bed, placing the blanket over my shoulders like she had done this for countless terrified people before me. You should breathe, she murmured. Your body is in shock. I am fine, I lied, because the truth felt too big for the room. You are not fine, Joanna said gently. But you will be. She handed me the cup of tea she had brought earlier. The warmth steadied my hands slightly, but my mind was still racing. Joanna, I whispered, why are they so determined? Why would they risk coming here? She hesitated, and her silence was louder than any answer. Because hurting the people a man cares about is often the easiest way to break him, she finally said. My heart stopped. He does not care about me. Her eyes softened, full of a knowing that made my cheeks burn. There are many forms of caring. But whatever you think, Dante Moetti does not bring strangers into his home. And he does not fear for people he does not value. Before I could respond, we heard footsteps again, fast, but lighter than before. The door opened, and Dante stepped in, not with panic this time, but decision. Heavy, final decision. His eyes swept the room, landing on me instantly. Pack a few things, he said, his voice low and firm. We are leaving. My breath caught. Leaving? Where? Somewhere safer. Safer than your mansion that has a dozen armed guards. He stepped closer. After tonight, this house is compromised. Someone knew the layout. Someone knew the timing. He paused, lowering his voice like the walls might be listening. Someone knew exactly where you were. The words hit me like cold water. Someone inside your own organization. Dante's silence was the answer. But why would they target me? I whispered. He reached toward me again, slow and deliberate, his fingers curling gently under my chin so I would meet his eyes. Because you are the only person they believe can distract me. My breath faltered. Is that true? His thumb traced the edge of my jaw, and for a moment, the danger outside did not exist. For a moment, it was just us, the air between us thick with something unnamed but undeniable. You changed the outcome of my night, he said quietly. Of my life. My heartbeat stumbled. Before I could speak, another guard appeared in the doorway. Boss. Vehicles are ready. Dante dropped his hand from my face but not my presence. Grab your things, he told me. You ride with me. I stood on shaky legs, barely holding the blanket around my shoulders. Gianna squeezed my arm gently as she passed. Stay close to him, she whispered. He will keep you alive. And as I followed Dante out of the room, down the long hallway lined with shadows and security, one truth settled deep in my bones. I was no longer just someone who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was someone worth hunting. And someone he would burn the world down to protect. The moment Dante led me out of the guest room and into the dim hallway, the house no longer felt like a mansion. It felt like a battlefield disguised in luxury. Guards moved. With practiced urgency, speaking into radios, scanning corners, gripping weapons like they expected shadows to attack. Dante did not look back at them. He only looked back at me. Stay close, he said, and even though he did not raise his voice, it slid under my skin like a command my body obeyed on instinct. I followed him down the staircase, my heart pounding so hard I felt it in my throat. This was real. This was happening. Someone had come into his home, past his walls, past his security, past his world, just to send a message. And I had somehow become part of that message. Outside, the night air was colder than before, biting against my skin as if warning me of what waited beyond the gate. A row of black SUVs sat lined up in the driveway, engines rumbling low like restless animals. Dante's men were already in formation, watching the tree line, the fence, the sky. One of them opened the back door of the lead SUV the moment Dante approached. "You ride with me," Dante said again, not because he thought I had forgotten, but because he needed me to hear it. Really hear it. "You do not leave my side." I nodded. My voice had disappeared somewhere between fear and disbelief. He helped me in, his hand firm at the small of my back. Not possessive. Protective. That difference was becoming harder to ignore. The door shut behind us, sealing us inside the dark interior. The windows were tinted so deeply the outside world disappeared, turning the space into a small universe with only the sound of the engine and the weight of Dante beside me. He did not speak at first. He just watched the driveway through the front windshield as his men climbed into their vehicles. "Where are we going?" I asked finally, my voice barely steady. "A safe house," he replied. "One no one knows exists." "Do you think they will follow us?" "They can try." His tone was calm, but the tension along his jaw said he was ready for anything. The SUV began to move, the gates opening as if the house itself was pushing us out into the night. We rolled past the iron fence, past the boundary that had already been breached once tonight. My fingers twisted together in my lap. "Dante," I whispered, "I did not mean for any of this. I did not mean to ruin your life." He turned to me sharply, his expression cutting through my guilt like a blade through fog. "You did not ruin anything. You saved my life. And put myself in danger. And I will fix that." The promise in his voice was not soft. It was steel-wrapped in certainty. And it shook something inside me. The city streets were empty at this hour, just streetlights glinting off wet asphalt, the silence between buildings stretching like a held breath. "Tell me something," Dante said suddenly, his voice lower now. "When you saw those men at the restaurant, what exactly did you notice?" I swallowed. "Their eyes first. They were not watching you. They were watching the timing. And the way they spread apart, it was deliberate. Like they were trying to corner you without looking like they were doing it." Dante nodded slowly. "Most people freeze when they sense danger. You did not." "I was scared," I said. "Terrified." "Fear is not the enemy," Dante replied. "Fear keeps you alive. Ignoring it kills you." I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized something that made my breath catch. He was not praising me. He was studying me. Memorizing the way I saw danger. The way I reacted. As if what I had done at the restaurant was not luck. As if it was something he recognized. Something he valued. Before I could say anything, the SUV slowed, then turned sharply into an alley that led to a service road behind a row of abandoned warehouses. "This cannot be the safe house," I whispered. "No," Dante said, "this is the way to it." The convoy moved deeper into the darkness, headlights slicing through the fog. Then the radio crackled to life in the front seat. "Boss," 2 vehicles behind us. They picked up speed after we turned. Dante's eyes sharpened instantly, every line of his body shifting into focus. "How far?" "1 block and closing." The guard in the passenger seat turned, meeting Dante's gaze. "You want us to lose them?" "No," Dante said. "I want to see who they are." My pulse slammed against my ribs. "Dante, do not be afraid," he said quietly, keeping his eyes on the mirror. "They have no idea what they are walking into." The radio crackled again. "Boss, the vehicles behind us just turned off their lights." That was not good. Even I knew that. The SUV accelerated. The engine roared. The guard in the front seat pressed a button, and a panel slid closed over the rear window, reinforcing the interior. Dante's hand reached across the seat and covered mine. Warm. Steady. Completely intentional. Whatever happens, he said, you stay down, you stay quiet, and you stay with me. My voice trembled. What is happening? His fingers tightened around mine, and for the first time all night, his voice carried something almost human beneath the danger. They are coming for us. The convoy surged forward. The road narrowed. And somewhere behind us, tires screamed as the hunters finally revealed themselves. And I realized with a cold shiver that I was no longer just in Dante Moretti's world. I was in the crosshairs of it. The moment the convoy accelerated, the world outside the SUV blurred into streaks of darkness and gold from the passing streetlights. My heartbeat matched the engine's roar, fast and unsteady, like it was trying to keep pace with danger itself. Dante had not let go of my hand. His grip was steady, grounding, the only thing in the chaos that felt real. Boss, vehicles are closing in, the driver said, eyes locked on the mirror. One on each lane. Let them, Dante replied, his tone frighteningly calm. I glanced over my shoulder, but the rear panel had already closed, blocking the view. It made the cabin feel smaller, like the walls were closing in. Dante, I whispered, what do they want? Is it you or it's me? He looked at me then, really looked, his expression carved from something darker than fear. You are not their target, he said. You are their leverage. My stomach knotted. So they came for me. They came for me, he corrected, and you are the fastest way to break me. His words stole the air from my lungs, not because of the danger but because of the admission wrapped inside it. Before I could respond, the SUV jerked as another vehicle rammed into our rear bumper. I yelped, gripping Dante's arm. He pulled me against him instantly, shielding me with his body. The driver swore under his breath. Second vehicle moving to flank. They are trying to box us in. Dante leaned forward. Take the service bridge. Force them into. Single file. Yes, boss. The SUV swerved right, shooting onto a narrow overpass where only one vehicle at a time could drive. The tires screeched, the metal rails rattled, the city stretched beneath us like a dark ocean. They cannot get around us here, the guard in the front seat said. Dante nodded. Good. Now we control the path. Another violent impact slammed us forward. My shoulder hit the seat, Dante pulled me closer, his arm wrapping around my back. Keep your head down, he murmured near my ear. You are safe. The reassurance should not have mattered in a moment like this, but it did. Something inside me steadied, just enough to breathe again. The radio crackled sharply. Boss, the tailing vehicle is accelerating. They are not backing off. Dante's jaw tightened. Then make them. The driver nodded once, then hit a button on the dashboard. The SUV's back panel opened just a crack, enough for the guard in the front seat to aim a weapon out the reinforced slit. My breath stopped. This was real. This was not a threat or a warning. This was war on a moving bridge. A burst of controlled fire echoed. The pursuing vehicle swerved, sparks flying. Tire hit, the guard reported. They are losing control. But the victory was short-lived. The second vehicle behind them sped up, headlights glaring through the dark like twin eyes of a predator. They are not backing down, the driver said. They want this. Dante's voice dropped to a chilling calm. Then they will have to earn it. Another crash, harder this time, rocked the SUV. I slammed into Dante's chest, and he held me steady, his hand at the back of my head, shielding me from the impact. The SUV fishtailed for a second, then regained traction. Dante, I whispered, shaking, this is insane. This is my life, he said softly. But you will survive it. I swear it. His certainty hit me harder than the collision had. The radio crackled again. Boss, roadblock ahead. The driver cursed. They forced us this way. Turn left, Dante ordered. There is no road left, boss. That is a construction drop. Turn. The driver did. The SUV plunged off the unfinished ramp, landing hard onto a lower service road that was barely paved. I gasped as the impact jolted through me, the world shook, my vision blurred, and for a terrifying moment, I thought the vehicle might flip. But the tires caught, and the SUV kept moving. "Boss," the guard said, breathless, "they jumped too. They are still behind us." Dante finally looked at me again. His eyes were dark, fierce, alive with something that felt dangerously close to emotion. "I need you to trust me, Lena." "I do," I said before I could think. His hand squeezed mine once. "Good." Then he called out to the front, "Lose them." The driver nodded and made a sharp, sudden turn into an underground access tunnel. The darkness swallowed us whole, cutting the lights, the sky, the world behind. Tires screeched somewhere above us as the pursuing vehicles shot past the tunnel entrance, missing the turn. Silence flooded the SUV like a blessing. We were alone. Hidden. Alive. I let out a shaking breath I had been holding for minutes. "Are we safe?" I whispered. Dante's hand slid to my cheek, his thumb brushing lightly across my skin, grounding me. "For now," he murmured. "But tonight proved something." "What?" "They will not stop coming." He leaned closer, his voice softer than the darkness surrounding us. "And neither will I." My chest tightened, not with fear this time, but with the weight of everything unspoken between us. The SUV slowed, the tunnel stretching ahead like a path carved into fate. And I realized that danger was no longer the only thing chasing us. Something else was catching up. Something I did not have a name for yet. But Dante looked like he knew exactly what it was. The tunnel felt endless, stretching forward like a vein carved beneath the city, dim lights flickering overhead as the SUV rolled deeper into the underground. The world above us had gone silent, but the danger had not disappeared. It hovered in the air, thick and electric, clinging to my skin the same way the cold clung to the concrete walls. Dante had not released my hand. Even in the dark, even with danger fading behind us, he held on like letting go was not an option he was willing to consider. "How much farther?" he asked the driver. "A few minutes, boss," the man replied. "Safe house is prepped. No signals. No cameras. No trails." "Good," Dante said. But his voice was still tight, his jaw still locked, his breathing too calm to be real calm. He was controlling it. Containing it. Protecting me from seeing the storm he carried inside him. I turned slightly toward him. "Is this normal for you?" He finally looked at me, and in the dim light, his eyes were softer but also older somehow, like he had seen too much for too long. "Normal," he said, "is a luxury men like me are not given." I swallowed. "And men like them. They are what happens when greed and fear find the wrong hands." He leaned back slightly, his thumb brushing over my fingers, slow and steady. "But tonight was not about them." My voice trembled. "It was about me." He did not deny it. "Yes." The SUV turned down another narrow passage, and my shoulder brushed against Dante's arm. Even with layers of fabric between us, heat shot through me like a warning. Or a connection. Maybe both. "Dante," I whispered, "why are they so desperate to get to me? I am not important." His gaze snapped to mine. "You are now." "I did not ask to be." "Neither did I," he said quietly. That startled me. He rarely spoke about himself, his life always sounded like something carved in stone, untouchable, unchangeable. But right now, in this dark tunnel with adrenaline still buzzing under our skin, he felt almost human. Almost breakable. "What does that mean?" I asked. He looked away, exhaling slowly, as if searching for a version of the truth he could give me without giving too much. "I built a world where everyone's role is defined. Where everything and everyone moves exactly as I need them to. I cannot afford unpredictability." His eyes returned to mine. "But then you happened." Heat rose to my cheeks. "I did not mean to disrupt anything." You did not disrupt it, he said. You exposed it. Exposed what? Dante paused, and for a moment, the tunnel's dim lights caught the faintest crack in his armor. That even the most controlled man can react without thinking. My breath caught. You mean the restaurant? I mean everything after, he said. The moment you whispered in my ear, I acted before I understood why. And tonight, when they came, I nearly went after them alone. You would have been killed, I said, horrified. Yes, he murmured, and I did not care in that moment. The SUV hit a bump, jolting us both, breaking the intensity just long enough for me to breathe again. Dante rubbed his forehead briefly, like he regretted revealing that much. They see it now, he said, voice turning cold again. They see what you are to me. I shook my head. I am not anything to you. You are alive because of me, Dante said, and I am alive because of you. That makes you everything. I could not speak. Not because his words frightened me, but because they felt dangerously close to something I did not understand yet. Or maybe I did, and I just was not ready to admit it. The SUV slowed. Boss, the driver said, we are here. Ahead, a metal door slid open automatically, revealing a hidden underground chamber. Concrete walls. Reinforced steel. A place built not to be found. Stay behind me, Dante said. Do not let go. He led me out of the SUV, his hand warm around mine, guiding me through the shadows like I was the only thing in this place that mattered. The safe house was cold and silent, but it felt strangely peaceful after everything that had happened. Dante stopped near the center of the large room and finally turned to face me fully. You will stay here until I eliminate the threat. My pulse raced. What does eliminate mean? His eyes darkened. Exactly what you think it means. I stepped closer before I realized I had moved. Dante, do not do something reckless because of me. His jaw flexed. Reckless is letting them think they can touch what is mine. My heart lurched. I am not, you are, he said, cutting me off gently but firmly. You became mine the moment you saved my life. I felt the truth of it settle on my skin like heat. Heavy. Unavoidable. Fate disguised as danger. The door to the chamber sealed behind us with a deep metallic echo, and in that moment, I realized something terrifying and undeniable. I was no longer running from danger. I was standing next to it. And it had Dante Moretti's eyes. The door of the underground chamber sealed with a heavy metallic thud, the kind of sound that echoed in your bones long after it faded. Dante stood there for a moment, his back to me, shoulders rigid beneath the fabric of his jacket, every muscle coiled with the kind of tension that came from being forced into survival mode for too many years. I watched him, unsure whether I should speak or stay silent. The air between us felt charged, tense, like a wire stretched too tight. Finally, he turned. His expression was unreadable, the dangerous calm that masked something deeper. You should rest, he said. There is a room prepared for you. What about you? I whispered. He let out a slow exhale. I do not sleep when my world is unstable. Your world. I said softly. You mean the people trying to kill you? He stepped closer, each movement so deliberate it made my breath catch. I mean the people trying to take you. My pulse stumbled. I told you, I am not. Oh, stop, he said, his voice low but firm. They followed us tonight. They risked everything. They did not care about the consequences. That does not happen for just any waitress. Heat flushed through my face. I did not ask for any of this. For the first time, something cracked in his expression. Not anger. Not frustration. Something like regret. I know, he said. And I am sorry. The word stunned me. Dante Moretti, powerful, feared, untouchable, apologized. This is my world, he continued. Violence and leverage. Threats and loyalty. But you do not belong in this darkness. Then why did you bring me into it? I asked, voice trembling despite my effort to stay strong. He looked away, jaw clenched. Because I could not lose you. The words hit me with the force of a confession, soft but devastating. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once before turning back to me. When you whispered in my ear at the restaurant, everything shifted. I did not have time to think. I reacted. You could have been killed for helping me. But I was not, I said. Because you were lucky, he replied. But luck is not protection. I took a slow breath. And staying here is. He stepped even closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him. This place is off the grid, he said. No connections. No records. No one knows it exists except the ones I trust with my life. His gaze held mine with an intensity that made my chest tighten. And now, you are included in that list. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air heavy with something I could not name. Dante, I whispered, I do not know how to survive in your world. You do not need to, he said. You just need to stay close to me. Something in his tone, possessive, protective, raw, sent a shiver through me. Not fear. Something else. Before I could speak, the radio on his hip crackled to life. Boss, we secured the upper tunnels. No signs of pursuit. Cameras on the surface show no movement. Dante responded, eyes still on me. Stay alert. No one relaxes until I say so. The line went quiet. He did not move away. Instead, his hand lifted slightly, as if he wanted to touch me but was fighting himself. You are shaking, he said. I am not, I tried. He gave me the look he always gave when he could see through me. Come here, he murmured. I hesitated, but the truth was my legs were already moving. When he wrapped a strong, steady arm around me, my body melted against his warmth before my mind could argue. I did not know what surprised me more, that he held me, or that I clung to him like I had been drowning and finally reached shore. His breath brushed the top of my head. I did not want this for you, he said. I did not want you threatened or hunted. But I am, I whispered. Because of you. He flinched. It was subtle, but I felt it. His grip tightened, not crushing, just anchoring me. Then I will make it right, he said. Whatever it takes. The promise vibrated through his chest, into my skin, settling deep in my bones. Slowly, he released me just enough to look into my eyes. You should rest, he said again, softer this time. Tomorrow, everything changes. Changes how? I will show you, he answered. He turned, guiding me toward the small room off the main chamber. Before opening the door, he paused. Lena. Yes? He held my gaze like the whole world depended on it. Whatever happens next, you have my protection. He hesitated. And more than that, you have my attention. My breath caught. Before I could respond, he opened the door and stepped away, leaving me with nothing but the echo of his words and the terrifying truth settling inside me. I was no longer just someone Dante Moretti needed to keep alive. I was someone he could no longer walk away from. The small room Dante led me into was simple, almost shockingly so compared to everything else in his world. A narrow bed, a metal nightstand, a single lamp casting a warm circle of light on cold concrete walls. It felt like a bunker disguised as a bedroom, a place meant for survival rather than comfort. I stood there for a long moment after Dante left, staring at the closed door, hearing the echo of his last words replaying in my mind. You have my protection. And more than that, you have my attention. I pressed my palm to my chest, trying to steady the rush of emotions that sentence triggered. Fear, warmth, confusion, something deeper I was not ready to name. I sat on the bed, my body heavy with exhaustion, but sleep refused to come. My mind spun with too many questions, too many flashes of headlights, gunfire, Dante's arm around me in the SUV, the look in his eyes when he said he could not lose me. Somewhere in the silence, I heard footsteps outside. Slow. Controlled. Familiar. Before I could decide whether to pretend I was asleep, the door opened quietly. Dante stepped inside, not asking for permission because something between us no longer required it. His shoulders relaxed slightly when he saw me awake. "I thought you might need something to help you rest," he said, holding a small cup of herbal tea Jayana must have prepared. He set it down on the nightstand, then hesitated. "May I sit?" I nodded, unable to trust my voice. He sat on the edge of the bed, leaving a careful distance between us, as if he knew being too close might unravel whatever self-control we were both clinging to. "You should sleep," he murmured. "Your body has been in danger for too long tonight." "I will sleep when you do," I whispered before thinking. He let out a low breath, something between a laugh and a sigh. "I do not sleep easily." "Why?" I asked softly. "Does danger keep you awake?" He shook his head. "Responsibility does." His gaze dropped to the floor, his jaw tightening. "I built an empire that demands my vigilance. I cannot afford to close my eyes unless I know everything I value is safe." My throat tightened. "Am I included in that?" He lifted his gaze, and the answer was already in his eyes before he spoke it. "You are the only part of my life that feels unsafe because you are the only part one cannot control." My breath hitched. The truth in his voice was disarming, raw, more intimate than any touch could have been. "Dante," he looked at me like he was memorizing every detail of my face, every fear, every question. "There is something you need to know," he said. "About why they want you." My pulse spiked. "Tell me." He leaned forward slightly, voice dropping low. "The man behind the attack, he is not after my business or my territory. He is after me. Personally. Revenge." I whispered. "Obsession," Dante corrected. "He lost something because of me years ago. Something he wants to reclaim." "What does any of that have to do with me?" His eyes darkened. "Because you saved me in public. Because the whole room saw me respond to you. Because someone like him sees meaning in things that should not have meaning. He believes you are important. He believes hurting you will hurt me." Fear crawled up my spine. "But I am not important," I whispered, shaking my head. "I am nobody." Dante reached for my hand then, slowly, giving me time to pull away. I did not. His fingers wrapped around mine, warm and steady. "You are not nobody," he said softly. "Not to me." My eyes stung unexpectedly. "Dante, why are you saying these things?" "Because I need you to understand the truth," he said. "Before the sun rises, you will no longer be a ghost in my world. You will be known. Protected. Marked." My breath caught. "Marked? What does that mean?" He hesitated, watching my reaction closely. "It means no one will dare touch you. It means no one will dare question who you belong to." Heat rushed to my cheeks. "Dante, it sounds like survival," he interrupted, but his eyes betrayed something deeper. "It sounds like the only way to keep you alive." He let go of my hand and stood. "Rest now. Tomorrow, everything changes." Before he reached the door, I called out, softer than a whisper. "And what changes for you?" He paused, hand on the handle, back tense. "Everything," he said. Then he stepped out, closing the door slowly, leaving me in the dim light with a truth I could no longer ignore. I was not just protected. I was becoming part of something dangerous, something powerful, something inevitable. And Dante Moretti was not saving me from his world. He was bringing me into it. Sleep never came. I lay on the narrow bed with the blanket pulled to my chin, staring at the ceiling as the quiet hum of the underground safe house pressed against my ears. Somewhere beyond these concrete walls, there were men hunting me, men who believed hurting me would hurt Dante. And somewhere in this same bunker, Dante was awake, planning, calculating, deciding the next move in a war I never meant to step into. By the time the first hint of morning reached us, not sunlight, but a faint change in the air pressure of the vents, I sat up. I could not stay in bed any longer. I opened the door just a crack and saw him immediately. Dante was standing at the long metal table in the main chamber, still in the same clothes from the night before, his dark hair tousled, his jaw shadowed. He had not slept. Papers, maps, and digital tablets were spread out in front of him, guarded by two men who looked just as tired. He was giving orders quietly, but the authority in his voice filled the room. We move before they do. We take the initiative. We end this. One of the men nodded. Yes, boss. Surveillance teams are already redeployed. Dante looked up then, and his eyes found me exactly where I stood, half hidden behind the door, uncertain if I should step out or retreat. His expression softened instantly, a subtle shift only someone paying close attention would notice. Lena, he said, his tone lower, gentler, like he had two voices, one for his world, and one for me. Come here. My legs felt weak, but they carried me to him anyway. When I reached the table, the men bowed their heads slightly in acknowledgement, then left us alone without a word. Dante waited until the door shut behind them before he spoke. Did you sleep at all? I shook my head. He exhaled, not angry, not frustrated, concerned. You will need your strength for today. Why? I asked. What is happening today? He stepped closer, his presence filling the small space between us. I told you last night. You cannot stay a ghost in my world. My pulse quickened. What does that mean exactly? It means I will make sure no one can use you against me ever again, he said. It means I make your protection official. The word official struck something deep inside me. But Dante, what does being an official in your world look like? His eyes held mine, steady, unflinching. It looks like you being under my name. My breath caught. That sounds like claiming, he finished for me. Yes. He rushed to my face, but it was not embarrassment. It was the weight of understanding. Dante, I do not know if I am ready for that. I do not even understand what you expect. I expect nothing except your safety, he said. Everything else comes with time. And if I say no? I whispered. For a moment, his jaw tightened, but not in anger. In restraint. Then I protect you anyway. And I take the burden alone. He stepped even closer, close enough that I felt the warmth of his body, close enough that his voice wrapped around me like a vow. But if you say yes, then I can move the entire board. And I can make it impossible for anyone to touch you. My chest rose and fell too fast. This is too much. It is the only way, he said. Men like the one coming after us do not understand compassion or boundaries. They understand ownership, territory, consequence. His eyes darkened. They need to see that taking you means starting a war they cannot win. And what do you need? I asked before I could stop myself. His answer came without hesitation. I need you alive. The simplicity of it broke something open inside me. He reached for my hand then, slow, deliberate, giving me every chance to refuse. I did not. His fingers closed around mine, warm, firm, anchoring me in a moment I knew I would never forget. Lena, he said quietly, I cannot promise you peace. But I can promise you that no one will ever harm you. Not while I breathe. A shiver rolled through me, not from fear this time, but from the truth beneath the words. He lifted my hand slightly, his thumb brushing my knuckles in a way that made my heartbeat stumble. There is one more thing you must understand. What? I breathed. Once this becomes official, he said, your life will never return to what it was. People will know your name. They will know mine beside it. And they will know what you mean to me. The tremor in my chest spread through my whole body. And what do I mean to you? He looked at me like the question had been burning in him long before I asked it. More than I should admit, he said softly. But I will show you. Today. Before I could respond, a guard re-entered the room. Boss. The car is ready. Dante did not look away from me. This is your choice, he murmured. Walk out with me, or I will walk out alone and keep you hidden forever. My heart answered before my mouth did. I nodded. His shoulders eased just slightly, a rare softness breaking through the shadows in his eyes. He squeezed my hand once more. Then stay with me, he said. No matter what you see today. And as he led me toward the elevator that would take us out of the bunker and into a world that suddenly felt much larger and much more dangerous, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was no longer simply surviving Dante Moretti's world. I was stepping into it by choice.